Hi, it's Cardiologist again. Today I'd like to make a video about how to change the headlights on a 2010 Prius. Anything on the Generation 3 Toyota Prius. You know, taking off the headlights and replacing them, sometimes even changing the bulbs on this car entails a lot of work. It pretty much entails taking off the front bumper, and that's kind of a tedious task. I don't think it's all that difficult, but it is tedious. There's not a lot of information out there that I've been able to glean, so I'd like to go ahead and document how we do this, and hopefully it will help other people for a fairly popular car. This is my 2010 Toyota Prius. It's the version 4, which has the solar roof. My wife drives it, she uses it for the kids. Gets a lot of mileage, gets a lot of abuse. I have to say it's a really good car. You would think that because of the hybrid system that it would be very labor intensive, or prone to braking, or overly complex. None of those things are true. It's incredibly reliable. I have to say Toyota makes a really good product. And I really have no complaints about it. I have no complaints at all. You know, you don't really know a car all that well until you start taking it apart. And one thing I will comment on is that when you take this car apart, it is somewhat different from when you take apart a Mercedes. It's not built quite as solidly, the parts are lighter, you know, the engineering on these cars nowadays is such that you have to pull off a lot of panels just to get to basic things. So let's talk about the headlights. You can see these headlights. These are actually brand new. I put them on yesterday. But I kind of did a silly thing. I didn't put in brand new bulbs, and I discovered today that I could put bulbs in on the driver's side without too much trouble. But I really couldn't get my hands in there to do it on the passenger side. So I thought that instead this would be a great opportunity to just make a whole video on how you take in and out the headlights, and it'll show you how to do the bulbs and remove the front bumper, and hopefully that'll be useful. To perform this job, I recommend having the following things. One cloth that you can lay on and use so that nothing gets scratched, something to hold the screws and nuts. Admittedly, most of them are plastic, and therefore the fact that this is magnetic is irrelevant, but for the metal screws it'll help. One good old-fashioned screwdriver, this little tool here that helps me pull up the clips, standard socket wrench, an extension, and 10mm socket. That's really all you need. The rest of it is just tedious. And you know, if you take this to the dealer and you pay dealer prices for dealer labor, you're going to pay. Okay, so we pop the hood on the car, and let's just come and take a look at this headlight assembly. You can see that there's a screw here and a screw here. That's two of them. However, there are other fasteners that you can't get at. One of them is going to be right over here, and in order to get at that you're going to have to take off the bumper, and that's the reason we have to do everything that we need to do. And then hidden underneath here is a little metal tab that I'll show you later on. It is these guys which prevent you from easily doing the work without taking off the bumper. In fact, it just prevents you from doing the work without taking off the bumper. Step number one is going to be that we take off this piece right over here. In order to accomplish that, we're going to lift off these little clips. In order to lift off clips, I like to use this particular tool. I just get it in here, pop it up. So I will do that for those clips and take off that piece. 3 clips removed, and this piece comes right off. Underneath, you will see a variety of other clips, as well as 10mm screw here, 10mm screw here, and a few more clips. That's the next thing that has to come off. Okay, with all clips and screws removed from up top, we now turn our attention to down low. So right underneath here, there's going to be some screws. They'll start off, these are all 10mm. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 of them. They're all 10mm. Remove them, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so 7 of these screws have been removed. I went ahead and spread out the towel. Now we're going to come to the side of the wheel, and you'll see that there are 2 connectors. There is one here that gets lifted out, and there is one here that gets unscrewed with a 10mm driver. Same thing on the other side, 10mm, and you just pry this out with a little screwdriver. All the connectors should now be loose. Next step is to just gently move this piece away from the rest of the bumper. And it unclips like that. Okay, we're going to come around to the other side. We're going to do the same thing. Just gently unsnap it. Okay? Now the whole front bumper cover is going to come off. There is an electrical connector down here on the driver's side for the fog lights. I'll need to remove that, then the whole piece will come free. And so now the bumper cover is off, and I put it on my garbage can with a little box underneath it so that nothing gets scratched or messed up. Now we can turn our attention towards what really holds on this light. We've already discussed we've got one over here, we've got one over here. But now you will be able to see the one on the side, which is absolutely impossible to get without removing that bumper cover. Now, if I didn't take the bumper all the way off and I just spread it back, maybe I could have gotten it. But I don't want to bend that back so much that the paint cracks or that there's a fold in the plastic, because honestly, this is not made of the best stuff. So I think it's best to do it this way. So now to remove this headlight, what we're going to do is just come in here with our 10mm and take that out. We're going to come up here to this guy, 10mm, and take that out. And finally this one up here and take that out. When all of those are done, we'll show you what happens next. Having removed all the screws, you need to take a regular screwdriver. You come in here. You look at this part. This is the hidden part that gets you every time. There is a flap right there. You take your screwdriver. You bend that piece of metal up a little bit. If you don't do that, it's just not going to come up. That's the secret to this whole thing. When that is up and the screws are off, this whole headlight unit should pull straight out. Come on, baby. I know you can do it. I am probably going to need both hands, but I promise you this will come out. There it goes. Wait, just did it with one hand. Yay. Okay, that's how you do it. Now, of course, there are electrical connectors on the back, and we can take those off. But the main purpose of what I'm doing today is to be able to just get access to change the bulbs on the passenger side. Honestly, it is possible only in theory to change the bulbs on the passenger side. In practice, I think you have to have incredibly small, incredibly nimble hands. Otherwise, it's not happening without doing what I'm doing. On the driver's side, it is feasible. Okay, so I now have all the bulbs changed. I went ahead and changed this. This is an H11. I went to the extra bright ones. I got them at Walmart. And then I changed these little side markers, both of which were burned out. These are 2825. You could also use a 168 or a W5W. So there's one here and there's one here. This is the bright bulb. Those are rarely used, and because of that, they really don't need to be replaced unless they happen to be dead. You know, they work fine. They're rarely used. It's the main headlight that gets all the hours on it. And this car has 100,000 miles on it, so I think it's time. Interestingly, what I did not know, but only discovered yesterday, is that these little 2825 bulbs had been burned out for God knows how long. So it just goes to show you that you really do need to check. Unlike other cars, it's not going to display a warning light for you when those lights go out. And this is not my car, it's my wife's, and honestly, I don't think she noticed these things. So sliding things back with care, just so that you don't break any of the tabs, that went easily. And once that's done, you take this white thing and snap that back in. That holds the bumper firmly so that the seam is decent. So now it's back in. I think I'm going to test the bulbs. Provided that everything's working correctly, I'm going to put it all back together. Okay, so I have now confirmed that all the bulbs in this unit work properly. There are 4 bulbs in this unit: the regular one, the bright one, the marker, the parking light marker, and then the side marker. The parking light and the side marker are the 2825 bulbs, and those are the ones that I said, unbeknownst to us, had been off for the longest time. So I'm glad that I tended to that. So I'm going to put all the screws back on in the reverse order. So again, we're going to put on 1, 2, and 3. And we'll do that on both sides. And then we'll start to put the bumper back. So you insert the bumper back on. Be very careful, it's delicate. You just have to work it through. Don't force anything, you'll bend it, you'll break a tab. Just go slowly. Once you have everything fitted appropriately, let's just start putting in some of the connectors loosely at first until you're totally satisfied with it, then tighten them up. Okay, so the fasteners are on, the bumper's on, the lines look good, everything's looking good, both above and below. And finally, we put on this piece that is over here. That's this guy, and we'll just put this on with its 3 fasteners, and we will call that a day. Okay, so now the whole car is back together. I've already tested the bulbs, I'm very satisfied with them, and that is how you do it. So if you need to replace the headlight assembly, sorry folks, the only way to do it is to take off the bumper, but now I've gone ahead and shown you how, and I certainly hope that this information is helpful. If you like my car D-ology videos, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and feel free to subscribe from time to time. I like to share my projects on my various cars. Thank you very much for watching.